Well, hello, this is Hall Martin with Investor Connect. Today we're here with Julie Smith of Medici Ventures. Julie, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
Well, great. Well, I noticed you guys are in the new space of cryptocurrency, or maybe you've been there for a while, but maybe you could tell us more about what you guys invest in and more about why you think that's a good space.
Absolutely. So, here at Medici Ventures, our mission is actually to advance blockchain technology. So, certainly, we are well attuned to the to cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin and understand everything that's happening in the space. But our goal here is really to advance blockchain as a whole. We are, for those who are not familiar with us, we're a subsidiary of Overstock.com. Overstock has been a longtime supporter of Bitcoin and blockchain. We were the first major online retailer to accept Bitcoin back in 2014, and then just recently began to accept more than 40 other cryptocurrencies as payments. So like I said, we're definitely involved in the crypto space and follow it closely. But as an entity, we were started in 2014, again, with our mission to advance blockchain. We have about 30 employees here. Most of those are developers. We do some work in-house, some R&D, work for portfolio companies, some outside partnerships. But in all of those things, we're trying to stay at the forefront of what's happening in blockchain.
Well, great. And what do you think is the future of blockchain and cryptocurrencies? What are the main things you think it's going to be used for?
Yeah, so here at Medici, I mean, we are taking a long-term view. We are really positioning ourselves to capitalize on what we see as, we think the impact of blockchain could be something as fundamental for society as the introduction of the internet. We think this technology has the potential to inject trust where none could exist before, because competing parties could not agree on a digital representation of the truth. And blockchain provides a way to solve for that in a number of areas. And in doing so, it massively reduces coordination costs in a number of industries and in society as a whole as it spreads beyond business use cases to government and voting. It really could change the relationship between governments and their citizens. So far, there have been hundreds of specific business use cases across industries that are sort of low-hanging fruit that have been identified as areas where there are significant, billion-plus-dollar market opportunities. And there's, a ton of great work out there on a number of areas. But here at Medici, we focus on 6 key areas. It's capital markets, money and banking, land, voting systems, identity, and underlying blockchain tech. So, like I said, we are closely following the growth of cryptocurrencies, this rise of tokenization. To me, it's really kind of this revolution in representation, how we are digitally representing the world around us. We're closely following ICOs. These are all things that are part of the evolution of the category. But again, we're kind of focusing on the long-term impact to those 6 key areas.
And so what do you think about initial coin offerings and how does that fit or relate to, venture capital funding? What's your take there?
Yeah, so I mean, ICOs are really interesting. It's kind of representing a new way for companies to get access to capital. And it'll be interesting to see how it develops. Obviously, there's a lot of froth in the space right now. There's been sort of this ICO frenzy this year. And, regulators are perhaps rightly kind of taking a hard look and understanding how is this different from an IPO? How is this different from a traditional security? And kind of tightening the noose in terms of the regulatory requirements. It seems to be a way for companies that are often, pre-product to raise money quickly and easily. And whether that represents in some cases a truly more efficient and novel way for these great ideas to become funded. In some circumstances, certainly think that's true. And others, some of them are of questionable quality, to be sure. So it'll be interesting to see how the space shakes out. Definitely seems to be some froth and perhaps some warranted a harder look from regulators around where some of these really need to be looked at as securities.
Right. Well, there's an element of speculation in there, just like 1994, where there was a big element of speculation. Part of those are going to go away, and long-term technologies and successful businesses will continue on. And you're obviously investing in the successful ones with a long-term view. Do you recommend to your portfolios to go run ICOs?
It's not something that we necessarily recommend. We're not necessarily looking to rush anyone into doing an ICO. Some of our portfolio companies are considering to do them, but we are more focused on building quality technology and quality products. And that's really the strategy we're taking. Obviously, we've invested in these companies and they have some runway ahead. So again, we're not really rushing to have any of them establish ICOs at this point.
And so you said one of the six tenets of investing was blockchain technologies. Where do you think it's going to get the most traction early on?
So we have, at Medici, we've really focused. Some of our earliest investments were in the financial services space, and I mean that's an area where it's just so ripe for efficiency gains, for greater transparency and auditability in the system. Our portfolio company T0 has developed a blockchain-based alternative trading system and just released a product this year, a digital locate receipt, a DLR, that allows for short sellers and holders of securities inventories to have very clear locates or references to underlying shares of stock. And that really helps tighten up the system, helps prevent kind of mistakes or abuses where there is currently slack in the system. And it's low hanging fruit. It has the potential to really introduce a lot of efficiency and clarity into the systems. Financial services is, I think it's 7% of the US economy, and it just is ripe for this kind of innovation to be able to improve capital markets.
Well, you recently invested in an Austin company called Factum. Can you tell us more about that investment and why you chose them?
Yeah. So, I mean, generally speaking, when we look to invest in companies, first and foremost, we're looking for fit with our key areas of investment and expertise. We're looking for those teams to have domain expertise. So we see, or industry expertise, I should say. We see a lot of companies that have great tech, but very little industry expertise. We're also looking for companies that have big impact and a big mission, kind of avoiding super niche use cases. As you've alluded to, this space is really developing. Standards are still being developed, and there are still a lot of open questions from a platform and technology perspective. So we want ideas that will be able to adapt and navigate through those changes. We look for companies that are getting beyond the hype. We're seeing a lot of froth in the space with new ICOs. So we definitely vet the companies that we meet through our due diligence process to make sure that they either have a unique underlying technology or a unique business application for blockchain. So when it came to Factum, they kind of hit all of those key areas. They have a big vision. They had tech expertise, industry expertise, and a great management team. They fit that model well. And I guess they have issued their own token. They have their own blockchain, but they also anchor it back into the Bitcoin blockchain to make it more secure, which, the Bitcoin blockchain has 10,000 nodes running all the time or thereabouts. And so it, is obviously the most secure and robust blockchain out there. So we see them as a very good bridge between the Bitcoin blockchain and the rest of the crypto world. And as I alluded to, they had great tech, great expertise, but we actually didn't invest in Factum until they had a bit more focus. They have a platform that is really powerful, can do a lot of things, but we actually held off until they had a focus on an industry, which now is reforming the mortgage lending industry. And like I said, their platform can do a lot more, but they brought more expertise on board. They have just a really solid use case in mortgage lending, and that's when we decided to invest.
Well, very few companies in this space actually have technology or working products of any kind. I think 80% of ICOs don't have any product developed. It's all futures. Is that the key criteria, that they have a good team and a good technology and a good industry focus before you actually invest, but they don't actually have to have a working system prototype of any kind?
Yeah. I mean, yes and no. I mean, they're, thankfully at this stage in the evolution of the industry, there are a lot of great tools and technologies that can be easily built upon. So certainly if, we've had companies where they were still in the conceptual design phase, but had really solid business use cases and business experience. So yeah, you're absolutely right. We at least still, take that into consideration, but we've invested in companies that have, are still in the conceptual phase, but also have fully built out working demos, in addition to the business use case.
Great, great. And what help do you bring the companies that are working in this space? Do you have expertise or strategic connections, or what do you have that you can help these guys get further along?
Yeah, so we have, we have a stellar management team here at Medici. Our president, Jonathan Johnson, came from Overstock. He was president of Overstock for a number of years. Has grown up with that company. Is a lawyer by training. Just has a long track record of success. Big ties in government. He was a governor candidate last year. So he is an incredible resource for our companies. Our COO, General Counsel Steve Hopkins, similarly, knowledgeable, has a background in real estate development, JD MBA from Chicago, has an illustrious career here in Salt Lake and elsewhere. And then, aside from our management team, and we have, as I said before, a development team here in-house. So we do a lot of R&D work ourselves, and we do a lot of project work for portfolio companies. So especially for those who are looking to accelerate their development work, or who perhaps can use those resources to aid in their product development. We have all that in-house here. And then finally, I'd add that being part of Overstock is a huge advantage as well. I mean, we're a 1,500 person company here. We sit in Overstock headquarters, and we have a lot of those resources on hand in many different types areas of the business that we can kind of lean on. So that's also been our portfolio companies have found that to be a great value added resource for them.
Well, that's great. That's a good resource to have, and some like great expertise to help these companies grow up and be successful and so forth. Is there anything else you wanted to add in the final minute we have here?
I would just say, we just are focusing on really the long-term transformation that blockchain could have. I mean, I think this industry is just in its infancy. World Bank had a big report, and, in terms of when they think that the industry will be hitting its stride. We think that 2017 in particular has kind of been the year of blockchain. If you just look at Google search trends, if you look at investment coming into the space and estimated spend for banks in the financial industry, I mean, it is just exploding. There's a lot of opportunity. We're really excited for what's going to happen. We're really excited for our portfolio companies as well. So we're always out there looking for great ideas. So, just big thanks to you for having us on the call, and we can ever be a resource. We'd be happy to help.
Great. So, what's the best way for people to take contact with you? Through LinkedIn, website, other?
Yeah, so we have a website. It's MediciVentures.com. We have an email inbox established there. It's super easy. It's info@Medici Ventures. So do feel free to send us a message. We'd love to hear from you.
Well, great. We'll put that in the show notes so people can find it through the website, investorconnect.org, and get back in touch with you if they want to reach out and talk with you. But thank you so much for taking time to join us today. And as the industry matures, we'd love to have you come back and talk in more depth about some of these topics, blockchain, ICOs, etc. So hopefully we'll get back together here soon.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me.